in the chat. Let's thanks everyone for coming today. For those of you that I haven't met, make sure to ping me on the WhatsApp group and say that you attended the meeting today, so we can connect and I can make sure that I always get you guys hooked up. So I appreciate everyone coming. Of course, this is another Tuesday Triggers session. Today we've got a good buddy of mine, Aviv. So again, he's been an early Tuesday Triggers member, and he came out with a tool called Pandamatch. Pandamatch is a really, really powerful tool if used right. And I think that as targeting has become more difficult, like gone are the days where you can just use Apollo and go grab some shitty details and like make an audience and start blasting, right? If anyone has been emailing in the past, I don't know, since October 18th, we've all been going through it, and it's been tough. And everyone should know that, like, if you don't do a killer job right now, if you don't do a bang up job, you're going to be screwed. And so I asked Aviv to come on and speak about Pandamatch. He's going to hook something up at the very end in terms of, I think, some a little bit of a hookup for anyone wanting to test it. In my personal opinion, I think Pandamatch is incredibly affordable compared to the alternatives out there. I will say this. I, again, have never taken a penny, a kickback, or anything from having anyone on these chats. The whole goal of Tuesday Triggers is to bring on people that have interesting tech, that have good products, are just interesting agency owners that can disseminate knowledge, that can teach people, that can make us all better. And that's like by far and away the most important thing for me, always, every single time. I don't give a shit about $100 here or there, or referrals or affiliates. Probably should, to be honest, at this point, but like I don't. And so I want to bring on people that I think bring a lot of value. So that being said, Aviv, would love to kick it off with you. Again, the floor is yours to kind of talk through whatever you'd like to talk about, to give a demo. I don't know where you're headed, but
Yep.
and then we'll make some time at the end for people to ask and answer questions.
Cool. Sounds good. Let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. Alrighty. So, today's session will be about unlocking your full total addressable market using Pandamatch. What does that mean? How do you find all of your potential customers as a B2B agency owner, or maybe you're like a SaaS company, or maybe you target local businesses, whatever it may be. The more niche, the better. And we help you not only find lookalikes, but discover your full TAM. So, what is Pandamatch? I like to describe Pandamatch sort of as a hybrid between a search engine and a database. It's essentially a new age data tool that helps you discover your full TAM by scraping every website and analyzing the content of the website using our AI model. That is the most simple way I can put it. Next page. So you have the old way versus the new way of TAM mapping. The old way is essentially, keyword-based mapping where you're limited to exact match keywords, and this often leads to missing companies that use different terminologies. So, for example, you hop on the traditional databases, there's the Apollo, there's the Zoom Info, there's the LinkedIn Sales Navigator. You type in law firm, or you type in legal, and then you might end up having some contamination in your data where you're getting like marketing agencies and advertising agencies that target lawyers, for example. Or, you're searching for SaaS companies, but then, it overlooks companies that are labeled under specific industries like logistics, for example. Then there's also the industry-based mapping. So before you have the keyword-based mapping, now you have the industry-based mapping, which is part of the old way of mapping out your potential customers. So that leads to broad categorization that essentially fail to identify hybrid businesses or emerging niches. There's modern companies with multiple focus areas that often get misclassified into a single traditional category. A good example of that, and I'll actually show you a live demo at some point, is, for example, what about companies that offer immigration by investments or citizenship by investments. A lot of how would you categorize that? Is that a legal company? Is that a finance company? Does it fall under human resources? Does it fall under, travel? How would you identify those companies using the old way of TAM mapping, using keywords and industry based? The new way is using NLP methodology to map out your TAM. So Pandamatch relies on its own natural language modeling to analyze the company's content of their websites. It'll essentially understand the ideas and concepts of what their offerings are and their online presence, and then it enables an intelligent way to discover what they do and who you're targeting that goes beyond keywords and industries. So this is how most people do it. Apollo People Search. This method is a person-first methodology, meaning you're searching for an individual contact rather than identifying the best fit companies first. Apollo Account Search, this method relies heavily on keyword and industry filters. Again, like I mentioned earlier, it will miss those hybrid and niche companies. And for example, in other platforms like Zoom Info, Account Search, it misses newer companies, it can miss classified businesses, and it lacks the intelligent discovery for lookalikes in emerging sectors. So our outbound strategy is a little bit outdated and it's evolving. So you get attached to these outdated data sets that oftentimes lead to low response rates and wasted outreach. And on top of that, you're reaching out to companies that oftentimes are being bombarded by everyone. Everyone nowadays uses Apollo. Everyone nowadays uses LinkedIn. Everyone nowadays uses Google Maps. NLP-based search allows you to do lookalike-based prospecting. So if there's a particular company that converts well for you, why would you stop there? NLP lookalike technology helps you find similar businesses that are highly likely to engage. Then you have cross-industry discovery. Traditional tools, like I mentioned, they rely on rigid industry tags. Oftentimes that will lead to missing out on potential customers that actually fit your category. And the most important element that really, in my opinion, is more important than just lookalike mapping is actually unlocking and discovering your full total addressable market. So by scraping every HTTP website on the internet, and instead of relying on databases like LinkedIn, Google Maps, those older traditional databases, we use our proprietary natural language modeling to analyze the content of the website. And the use of this natural language processing makes it easier to find the right accounts in your target market. So I'm going to show you a quick demo of how Pandamatch works. Let me just pull up my screen. Just a second here. I'm going to have to change screens. Okay. Cool. So over here, you can see that there's a few different ways to run your lookalike search. You have the domain search, you have the keyword search, you have the exact search, you have the description search, which is basically our AI search. And then over here, you have the traditional fields like, industries and categories, company location. Here you see footprint score. This is the closest indicator we have to company size. Essentially, it's the size of their digital footprint, or you can say their online presence. It's between 0 and 800. Essentially, the bigger the score is, the larger the footprint score, the bigger the company. And then you have some extra filters like language, start date of the website, redirects, and then also the social media filters. So I want to just show you how it works when I say like the new way of TAM mapping. You don't act in Pandamatch, you don't actually, and this way of mapping out your TAM, you don't actually need to use industries, you don't need to use keywords. For example, I pulled a description earlier to find you companies that offer immigration by investments or citizenship by investments. So I pulled the description early. All I'm going to put here is, companies specializing in investment-based immigration programs, including residency and citizenship by investments, golden visas, investor visas, and startup services. I'm not
Yeah.
going to put anything else.
That's actually like crazy. That's powerful. I know that this had been added.
Yeah, so this is it's because this is why I also describe it as a hybrid between a search engine and a database. It goes beyond, just like SQL queries.
Yeah.
So now you can see we're pulling these companies, and you'll start to see different websites that are connected to the description. And based on the description you provided, our AI or this way of building your list using an AI model or NLP will start to find companies that match your description's offering. So here you'll see, like different websites, what do they offer? You know, they offer comprehensive immigration solution in the UAE, including business setup, golden investor visa, so on and so forth. But then when you actually like take a look at the industry groups, like how would you go about building a list like this in the traditional way of mapping out your TAM? Are you gonna categorize it as real estate? Are you gonna categorize it as human resources, legal, government services, financial services? So it goes beyond just the industries and categories. Um, Also, another thing I want to show you as well is
And
we,
just by the way, at the end, like Ali, for example, had some a good question of like a you know one that was a difficult targeting example for you that you could maybe go down.
yeah, sure, just
And
hold
I'm
that.
sure if anyone else has anything like that, that's any brain busters, it would be a good time to put them in. But yeah, so this first batch that you have, right? So I see it looks like it does. I mean, does it mean it pulled 36 million records? So do you have to now then start to do like negative refinement or something?
That's a great question. So, yes, the answer is yes. So, obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but we do rank it from highest similarity to lowest similarity. Anything above 80, sometimes anything above 70 is good enough to map out your TAM. But yes, you do want to refine it even further. So, this would mean adding some, lookalike domains. So, over here, you can just copy and paste this, you know, start adding the domains. And then over here, you could, like, if you see anything that doesn't fit the mold, you can add the negative search, which sort of acts like an anti lookalike filter.
Yep.
Um, and then if you want to refine it even further, you can also add the industries if you'd like. So in this case, you might want to offer like, specific government services. Like make sure that they have government services as part of the industry, and then this will reduce
So not too
the
different than like the way you would look at getting a really refined Apollo segment, right? But this is just involves way better parameters, way better ways of searching to start to narrow down in a much more granular way.
exactly. And so right now we have global coverage. U.S. data will be the best, but we do have global coverage. So let's say you want to find companies, specifically like in India, for example. You can go ahead and just focus on those countries, and it will reduce the search count, but you still will be able to find relevant companies.
So Ali, the second part to her question said, let's say I need, this seems relevant, I need every AEC, architecture, engineering, construction firm in the US. There's about 70K. How do I get all of them? Because at some point, all the audiences just start overlapping as you put in domains.
Yeah, so this is where combining the search parameters for like, domain, exact search is also quite powerful because you can actually insert a specific text fragment, which will then, based on the company or the lookalike domains you've inserted, it will make sure it has that text fragment on their website. So, in your case, maybe you want to put the word AEC or architecture, engineering under exact search. That way, you can actually filter it out. How do you avoid overlapping companies as well? You could leverage the footprint score. So essentially, if you find companies between if you run a query with the footprint score between 0 and 50, you will get different companies than if you were to run it from like 50 to 100. So that's another way you can go about actually mapping out your TAM without any overlapping companies in your searches.
So when you say mapping out your TAM, you're saying doing this exercise at the very beginning of, let's say, onboarding a client or whatever to really see what the size of the TAM is for that client. But like
Exactly.
the reason you're not saying, hey, like that would be, I mean, in this case, it would be 30,000 credits to just pull all of this. So maybe you're saying, hey, like once you really get into the nitty gritty, you would want to be more granular. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, because like, for example, let's say you want to target, solar energy companies, but you want to make sure they have at least 10 employees. Like, that's a good way to go about doing that. It just is leveraging the footprint score. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes, like, if you go for companies that are too big, they aren't necessarily the right fit depending on what your end goal is. So, and oftentimes that could lead. Maybe you don't want to go after companies that offer that are bigger because the sales cycle might be much longer in that case. But to answer your question, Ali, I would combine these different search parameters. I would definitely use the domain search with the exact search. I would also start leveraging the negative functions as well. That way you can remove the companies that are completely irrelevant. And the most common workflow using Pandamatch is once you build out your TAM in Pandamatch, a lot of our users will push it to Clay, and you can do that via webhook. We also have a native integration coming, hopefully sometime in Q2. But essentially, once you push that data to Pandamatch, you can use any LLM's API key, whether it's OpenAI. That's the most common one. And then you can use that API key to filter out the companies that fit your ICP and those that obviously don't. Um, Let me go back to my slide, and then maybe towards the end of this.
So if I go to find leads in Apollo, that will then push that to Apollo, and it will cost that amount of credits as well.
So every time you run a query, it's going to use one search credit, and then actually, I'll just show you right now really quickly how that actually works in real time. So let's say I like this list. I want to pull this list. I'm going to go ahead and save the search. So investment, what is it? Citizenship by investment, list one, test. I'm going to save 100 credits or so. Oh, looks like I'm on a different plan here. So whatever, I'll save 10. You're gonna save your list, and then you can quite literally just push that directly to Apollo. Here, let me share my screen where it shows the Apollo page.
And I forget, is it all search credits?
It's one search credit, and then you have record credit. So over here, what you saw was I had um, I had pushed it directly to Apollo,
Yeah.
and then it opens up your Apollo account, and it pushed the 10 companies we found, and then whatever contacts are available in Apollo, it will find those contacts.
So how many search credits versus like export credits or whatever, or whatever contact credits are there on, like, let's say, the basic plan?
So the most common plan is the starter plan. That gives you 100 search credits, and then I didn't really want to like dive into pricing because like I don't want to promote it too much. I just want to kind of like hammer down and emphasize like the new way of mapping out your TAM. But yeah, for example, like with Pandamatch, if you get the starter plan, that will give you 25,000 export credits. so record credits, and then 100 searches. And every time you run a search, every time you hit the query button, that's one search credit. And then under the starter plan, you can run 2,000 records per search. So let's say in this case, you wanted to map out this entire TAM. One workaround is to break it up into chunks using the footprint score. So map it between like 0 to 50, hit the query button, and then you can go ahead and save, or even further. A lot of these companies are a little bit smaller as far as their footprint score. So you could do like between 0 and 10, for example.
Mm-hmm. I see.
Or even 0 and 5.
Okay. But each time I do this, it's a search credit, right?
Yeah. So you get 100 search credits. And then 25,000 record credits. So in theory, you'd be able to export 10 times the amount of credits that you have based on the number of search credits you have. So every time.
That's pretty sweet, to be honest. Like, we have a pretty robust Apollo, so I can push stuff to Apollo, save some money there, and and like do some of my exports from what I've got existing in Apollo versus so I can kind of stretch it out a little bit, if you will.
Yeah, but let's say you wanted to map out your TAM. Like, for example, you can just do from 50 to 100, and then you could run a search. Depending on which plan you're on, and depending on the similarity score as well. You do everything above like a similarity score of 80, and then save the list between 50 to 100, and then push that to Apollo or push it to Clay. Filter out and enrich the accounts in your TAM, and then from there you can run a waterfall enrichment in Clay directly, and then find the emails or mobile numbers or whatever is your method for outreach. And then you can also break it down by a company.
Jason requested pricing, by the way, so maybe before you get off, you can run through it.
Sure. Yeah. While we're here, I might as well do that.
No, yeah.
So yeah, here are the plans right now. We have plans as low as $20 a month, so it is quite affordable, especially if you want to test it out. But most people tend to go on the starter plan, which is $99 a month. You get 100 search credits, 25,000 record credits, and you can search up to 2,000 records per search. We do offer rollover credits, so whatever you don't use rolls over to the next month. And then for those that are on an agency plan, you can also get, or the team plan, you get access to the API and then obviously more search credits. So 200 searches, for example, on the team plan, 75,000 record credits, and then you get up to 5,000 records per search. And then the agency plan goes up even more exponentially.
So we got 5 minutes left. Let's zoom through the rest of that deck. Make sure we got some time to answer any questions. Of course, we can always go long, but that's
I'm happy to stay on a little bit longer. I don't know how your schedule looks.
Yeah, I might have to jump, but you can answer any questions too if you go long.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so how does Pandamatch get their data? We scrape every HTTP website. We analyze their security certificate, and we also have domain linkage data. So this way you can discover hidden connections between companies through our proprietary domain linkage data, revealing potential partnerships and opportunities. This is also how we're able to find all the domains that are associated to your primary domain. So for example, if I typed in, RevGen Labs website, we'll be able to find all of their primary or their burner domains, if you will. So that's actually a neat way. There was a really interesting use case from one of our users where they actually used that to find companies that were doing cold emailing, and then helping them find, or actually pitching them a way to do cold email in a more effective manner. So
how would you do that?
So in our company data set, every time you pull a company, we'll show you all of the domains that are connected to their primary domain. So they basically found, they qualified all of the companies that have at least five redirecting domains, 5 domains that are associated to the primary domain. So chances are if they got more than 5 domains, they might be doing cold emailing.
Is there a way to search for that, or did they like have a list in mind and then just cross-check the search?
Yeah, you would have to cross check it right now, but it's in the company data set, and like I can go if you go on to Pandamatch and then you look at one of the records, for example, it will show you all of the domain associations. So anything that has more than 5 domains, there's a
Oh,
chance that they might be doing some cold emailing. Basically, the workflow is like, hey Christian, I noticed that the domain try rev reply, go rev reply, get rev reply are forwarding to your primary domain. Are you doing any kind of cold emailing by any chance? And then from there, you can offer your lead magnet, you can pitch your service, offer your case studies, and it's actually a really neat way to stand out. There's not that many companies out there that are doing it like that.
yeah.
Yeah. But just to, I know we're cutting short on time. So outside of the domain linkage data, we have firmographic targeting, which leverages data like company size, industry location, revenue. That really ties into our footprint score. And then our data sourcing, we analyze the domain infrastructure, the websites, and we use our NLP modeling to present it to the users in lookalikes. Um, Moving on, we have a couple of case studies. One of them, so the immigration by investment example, that actually came from Cold IQ. So they had launched like some community group where they were doing some kind of coaching, and essentially they were having trouble mapping out all the companies that offer immigration by investment. So they tried using Apollo, they tried using Ocean, they tried using Zoom Info. They weren't quite able to do it, and then we tested it out and we were able to get some solid results. And then another good example is, if you want to find HubSpot agencies in Apollo using industries and keywords, your search results will be quite limited. Some of the some things that are coming on our roadmap, we have an integration with Clay coming, also with Instantly, and then also with Make.com, where you can create some kind of module that will allow you to set up a workflow where you can find lookalikes for every positive reply that comes in, or every website visitor. You'll be able to find lookalikes for those. Also, technographic data is on the way. A lot of people are using tools like Built With or their stack. We are also going to be able to offer that as well. And my favorite is we're going to be able to help you guys enrich contact level data directly in Pandamatch. So right now we just map out accounts, but soon you'll be able to find contacts that don't exist on LinkedIn and on Google Maps. Here we have the Q&A. I know, Christian, you have to run, but I'm happy to stay on an extra few minutes if you guys want to run your if you have any questions, if you want to run your use case. I'm happy to do that with you guys.
Love that, man. Absolutely. I will jump. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ping Aviv in the chat. I know that we've used Pandamatch since the beginning. It's mostly my team isn't using it, but they love it. So again, I think that for what it's worth, like, it used to be like, okay, your option was like a $15,000 subscription to like, some of the like Ocean.io tools and stuff. And so for it to be like actually available now is pretty phenomenal. So I'll leave everyone to ask any questions, or if there's none, feel free to just jump. But thanks everyone for coming on today, as always.
Have you found the Evergreen campaign to find companies in your pipeline to find similar ones? That's actually one of our users, Taylor Heron. Maybe some of you guys are familiar with him. He's starting to use Pandamatch to run Evergreen campaigns. So, whenever a positive reply comes in, he's got a workflow set up that it will find all the lookalikes. Can it be anywhere between like 10 to 25 lookalikes per positive reply that comes in. Especially for a client like our B2B that has a really wide TAM and they want to cast a wide net, and there may be different types of potential users of our B2B. So yeah, definitely incorporating Pandamatch into your workflow or any kind of lookalike